They sat me down and said, "Your only job is to give us grandchildren. Nothing else matters." When I protested, they smiled coldly. "Then you're a disgrace to this family." Furious, I reached into my bag and pulled out a letter that wiped the smug looks off their faces instantly. I never thought a family dinner could change my life so much. But there I was, sitting at my in-laws' big oak table, feeling the weight of their expectations. My husband, Daniel, sat quietly beside me. Across from us were his parents, Margaret and Harold, both looking serious. Margaret started, her voice calm but firm. "We've been patient," she said. "But it's time you focus on what's important." I looked at her, confused. "I'm sorry, I don't understand." Harold leaned in, his eyes sharp. "Your main job is to give us grandchildren. Nothing else matters." I felt like the room was closing in on me. I turned to Daniel, hoping for support, but he just stared at the table, saying nothing. Taking a deep breath, I said, "I have a career and dreams. I can't just give that up." Margaret's expression hardened. "Then you're a disappointment to this family." Anger bubbled up inside me. I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. My hands shook a little as I placed it on the table. "I didn't want it to come to this," I said. "But you've left me no choice." Harold grabbed the envelope and opened it. As he read, his face changed from confusion to shock. Margaret leaned over to see, her face turning pale. This can't be," Harold stammered. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "It's real. That letter is from my lawyer. It explains the legal steps I'll take if you keep pressuring me." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," I said, my voice steady. "I've kept records of every comment and action. If you don't respect my choices, there will be consequences." Daniel finally spoke, his voice soft but clear. "Mom, Dad, this has to stop. We love each other, and our decisions are ours to make." That night changed everything. Boundaries were set. Our relationship with his parents remained tense, but I took back control of my life and choices. It wasn't easy, but standing up for myself was worth it. After that dinner, things didn't calm down. They got worse. At first, I thought the letter would be enough. That showing them I was serious would make them back off. But Margaret and Harold? They didn't scare easy. 2 weeks later, Daniel got a call from his mom. I was right next to him when it happened. He put her on speaker. I still remember her exact words. "Daniel, you need to come home. Alone. We have something important to discuss." Without her. I raised my eyebrows. Daniel looked uncomfortable, but he agreed. And just like that, they were pulling him back in. That night, he came home quiet. I asked him what they said. He hesitated. "They're just worried about us," he muttered. "Worried? Or controlling?" I shot back. He didn't answer. Just walked into the bedroom and shut the door. Over the next few weeks, Daniel started changing. He'd come home late. Stopped talking much. I caught him texting during dinner, smiling at his phone like he was being coached. It didn't take long to realize he was spending more and more time with his parents. Then one day while cleaning, I found it. A notebook under the bed. Daniel's handwriting all over it. But what caught me off guard was the first page, how to convince her to give them a grandchild. My blood ran cold. There were bullet points, quotes from Margaret, even things I had said that they had twisted. Plans. Like I was some puzzle to solve. Like my body was a project for the whole family. I didn't confront him right away. I needed to think. And I needed proof. So I started documenting. Every weird conversation. Every time Daniel pushed me about kids when we had already agreed we'd wait. Every time his parents, accidentally, dropped by with baby clothes or parenting books. Then the twist I didn't expect happened. I got a call from HR. Apparently, someone had sent an anonymous complaint to my boss. Said I was mentally unstable. That I had been talking about hurting a future baby. That I was obsessed with staying childless in a way that could pose a danger. The complaint included anonymous screenshots of texts I never sent. Photos from my private Instagram. Even a voice recording from a conversation that had clearly been edited to make me sound unhinged. I couldn't prove it yet, but I knew it was them. Margaret had always been tech-savvy. Harold had contacts. And Daniel, he was silent the whole time. He acted shocked, but his face said otherwise. At that point, I knew it wasn't just manipulation anymore. This was war. And if it was war they wanted? I had just started. The HR nightmare threw me off at first. My job was everything to me. I worked hard to get where I was. The idea that someone tried to sabotage it just because I wouldn't pop out a grandkid? It made me sick. My boss, thankfully, didn't believe the complaint right away. We had worked together for years. Still, he had to do his due diligence. I was put on a wellness review. Soft words. But the meaning was clear, watch your step. The moment I left that meeting, I knew I couldn't play nice anymore. I needed leverage. I went back home, and for the first time, I did something I never thought I'd do. I snooped. Daniel's laptop was password protected, but not the family iPad we both used. I knew he sometimes synced his stuff by accident. Maybe he thought I was too stupid or too trusting to ever check. He was wrong. There were emails. Dozens of them. Between him and Margaret. A full plan, dated back almost 8 months. They had started this way before the dinner. They had mapped out every move. Isolate her. Get her to feel guilty. Make her question her job. Plant doubts about her health. And then this, word for word. If she still resists by March, I'll go ahead with Plan B. You'll need to back me up when I say she's unstable. Plan B. The date was March 12th. The same day I got the HR call. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring at the screen, realizing the man I married had become someone I didn't know. Or maybe he had always been that person, and I just hadn't seen it. But the biggest twist came the next morning. I was sipping coffee when there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and there she was, his ex, Lena. I had met her once, years ago. She had left quietly. Daniel always said she was too emotional. That she didn't want a family. That she walked away for no reason. Lena didn't waste time. Look, she said. I know this is weird, but I saw your post last week. The one about being pressured for kids. It sounded familiar. Too familiar. I didn't know if I should come, but I couldn't stay quiet. I invited her in. She pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots. Emails. Photos. A voicemail from Daniel that could have been copied and pasted from my own conversations. I left because his family tried to get me pregnant on purpose, she said. They messed with my birth control. His mother tried to fake a fertility issue to get us to try sooner. When I resisted, they called my job, told them I was mentally ill. I lost that job. It was the same exact pattern. They had done this before. And Daniel? He was part of it. Every time. The difference was, I wasn't walking away quietly. This time, I was going to be the one who left a scar. I spent the next 2 weeks planning everything. No more playing defense. No more hoping Daniel would come around. He wasn't confused. He was calculated. And now I had proof. Lena helped me gather more evidence. Turns out, she wasn't the only ex. There were 2 others, same pattern, same destruction. We reached out quietly. One of them, Sarah, agreed to talk. She was a nurse. She had almost lost her license after Harold made a formal complaint about her emotional instability right after she broke things off with Daniel. So I got everything printed, organized, and put into a binder. Yes, a literal, physical binder. I labeled it Family Planning, the Truth. I waited for the right moment. Margaret's birthday brunch at their country club was coming up. Big family event. Relatives, friends, even some local business owners who knew the family well. Daniel begged me to come, said it would mean a lot. That was my sign. I walked in like nothing was wrong. Played the part. Hugged the relatives, smiled politely. Then, halfway through the meal, when everyone was relaxed and sipping mimosas, I stood up. I'd like to make a toast, I said, raising my glass. Margaret beamed. How lovely, dear. I took a deep breath, held up the binder, and smiled. This is not just a toast. It's a presentation. Because if there's one thing this family values, it's planning. So I planned something too. The room went dead silent. Let's start with a few emails. Emails between Daniel and Margaret. Planning how to manipulate me into having children. Planning how to get me fired. Planning to fake concern about my mental health. I opened the binder. Began reading, page by page. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I read it like I was presenting a report at work. Daniel stood up. Stop. You're making a scene. No, Daniel, I said calmly. You made the scene. I'm just giving it a title. Harold tried to grab the binder. I stepped back. Touch me again, I said, louder, and you'll be dealing with my lawyer, not just your lawyer's weak threats. Gasps around the room. People whispering. Margaret was frozen in her seat, jaw clenched so tight her face turned red. Then I dropped the real bomb. This isn't just about me. This is a pattern. Lena, would you come in? Lena stepped forward from just outside the patio doors. She'd been waiting. And here's Sarah, I added. Another one of Daniel's exes who was emotionally destroyed by your so-called family values. She couldn't make it today, but she did send a written statement. Margaret's face went completely blank. Harold looked like he might faint. Daniel's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Then, finally, Margaret spoke. You think you're so clever? You think exposing us in front of strangers will make you look better? You're still barren. You're still selfish. That was it. The last piece of the puzzle. I turned to the crowd, full of business associates and family friends. Did you hear that? Barren. Selfish. That's how this family speaks to women who won't give up their identity. A woman from Daniel's cousin's table stood up. I lost my job last year because I chose not to have kids. If your family tried to ruin her career, they're monsters. Others began murmuring. Some stood and left. One of Harold's oldest friends said, I always wondered why Daniel went through so many unstable women. Now I know it wasn't them. The fallout was instant. Daniel tried to pull me aside. I didn't let him. Margaret stormed out, dragging Harold behind her. Their perfect image? Shattered. Daniel sent me 1,000 messages over the next few days. Apologies. Excuses. Voice notes. The works. I didn't respond. I filed for divorce. Quietly. Efficiently. The HR investigation at my job? Dropped. I handed over evidence of the fake complaint. They apologized. My boss even offered me paid leave to rest and reset. For the first time in years, I felt peace. I kept in touch with Lena and Sarah. We became something like a little recovery group. Not just from Daniel, but from people like him. People who think they have a right to decide what your life should look like. Sometimes I still get angry. Or sad. Or both. The betrayal stings. But mostly, I feel strong. Because I didn't let them win. I stood up, and I made sure they'd never forget it.